G'day, my name's Matt. This channel's called The Right Car, and here we have the LDV T60 Max. And this one here is the plush version, the Lux, and it does have some features that you will appreciate. I'm going to tell you about this ute, the other versions in the range, and the best alternatives to it in this review. And if that interests you, make sure you subscribe because I've got a lot more content just like this coming your way. LDV offers ABN pricing for businesses in Australia, so Australian business number holders can get a discount of a few grand on this vehicle, which is good to see. But just keep in mind that I won't be listing ABN prices in this part of the review. I'm just going to do the private prices, and they are drive-away prices, so there's no nasties after the fact when you show up and say, hey, I thought it was this much. Anyway. All right, let's talk about the range. So there are a few different takes. The entry-level version is called the Pro. It's very much focused more on the work vehicle buyer, the tradie, for instance, and it does still have a fair few really nice features for the money, including LED headlights. You get a set of alloy wheels as well. Inside, you get cloth trim. You still get a touchscreen media system with wired Apple CarPlay, and it does feel okay. It's not necessarily feeling like a luxury ute, but then again, if you want the more premium version of the T60 Max, then you should be looking at the Lux grade, which is this one here. You do get a bunch of extra features that you will appreciate. Bigger wheels, you also get these flares, you get a sail plane on the back, side steps, roof rails, and on the inside you get a fake leather interior trim, which does lift the ambience a little bit, and a leather steering wheel too. So it does feel like you're getting pretty good value for money if you're buying the Lux version, but there are some considerations if you are looking at payload requirements if you're buying this version, so stay tuned, we'll cover them soon. And if you really need a big long ute with a big long tray, then you should be looking at the Mega Tub. It costs a few grand more, but hey, that does add some extra practicality. It's got a longer wheelbase and a longer tray to accommodate more stuff, but also payload considerations need to be taken in mind there. I'll get to them. All right, so what about the rivals to this ute? Righto, so there are a couple of really obvious alternatives to this ute. The first one being the SsangYong Musso. Now that car has really hit its straps recently because of stock shortages of more, well, let's say, desirable utes out there, but it is pretty desirable in its own way. It has a choice of two different tub lengths. It does have a pretty strong diesel engine as well, long warranty and affordable pricing. The top spec versions feel pretty special too, so if you're looking for something that is very wallet friendly but still doesn't feel like a cheap ute, maybe check it out. Another option you might want to be looking at is the GWM Ute. Now, it has a fair few different variants available. They've just added cab chassis and a new XSR top spec model, which looks a bit more sporty and a bit more outgoing. But hey, I reckon that vehicle does offer a lot of value for money. It has all the active safety technology that you would expect, a really strong safety rating and good warranty cover as well. The pricing, well, it just seals the deal in my opinion. It's the best affordable ute that you can buy, but hey, I can totally understand if you aren't into it for whatever reason. It doesn't necessarily light everyone's fire when it comes to the look either. And here's a left field option for you. If you're thinking, well, where's the Triton suggestion? Well, the Triton's coming. There's a new one coming. It'll probably be pretty good. And if you're thinking, well, what about a Ranger? Or, I don't know, something like a Navara or something like that. Well, yeah, but check out the Volkswagen Amarok entry-level versions instead. Just over 50 grand, you can get a pretty good Amarok with lots of technology, a much more upmarket feeling cabin than some of the other utes out there at that kind of money. And hey, I reckon it looks great too, but tell me what you think in the comments section below. Would you choose one of these utes or this ute here? Love to hear from you. The LDV T60 is a pretty big rig. It's almost 5.4 meters long. So this is not a small pickup truck. And hey, if you want one that's even bigger, that Mega Tub adds an extra almost foot of length to the wheelbase and a lot more length to the tray. Does make it a lot more usable if you are going to use all the length of the tray. But if you're not, then maybe one of these shorter versions might be more manageable because it is almost 5.8 meters long, as big as a Ram 1500, that thing. So yeah, all right, let's check out this tray because there's some things I like about it. One thing I really like straight away about the LDV T60 assisted tailgate drop, which makes it feel, well, just a little bit classier. Some of the other Utes out there don't have that until you're paying 80 grand or so. So that's nice to see. Also nice to see is that there is a tub liner in here. It's a durable spray-in one as well. It's not one of those plastic ones that things slip around in. You've also got a bunch of different tie down points. No lighting or power outputs in the back though, but you can see on screen now the size of this tray is competitive. In fact, it's pretty big. And if you choose the mega tub version, obviously you're getting a mega tub. It adds quite a bit of extra load length, and that might be really handy for you, so long as you're not loading anything too heavy, because it does have a lower payload. I'll put the payload figures on your screen now for all the different versions of this Ute. So it's safe to say that if you are looking for a work truck, you have to go for the entry-level versions. But if you're looking for more of a lifestyle truck, then you might be able to justify one of the higher spec versions. Just remember that payload also includes whoever's inside the cabin. It's not just what's in the tray. So make sure you do your calculations, because you don't want to get caught doing the wrong thing. And if you're wondering, underneath the body of the Ute, you will find a spare wheel. It's not a full size. My biggest bugbear with the interior of the LDV T60 is the seating position. I find that you do sit up very high, and if that's what you're after, if you're looking for a dual cab Ute to get the command driving position, it could be a really good option for you. But for taller occupants, you can feel that you are being encroached upon by the ceiling above you, and also it is a bit difficult to get a comfortable driving position because the steering wheel only has tilt adjustment, it doesn't have reach adjustment, so you can't pull it towards you and sit a little bit further back if that's what you want to do. So that could be an issue for you. All right, so let's talk about the amenities and the usability of this space. Some of the elements are pretty good. The screen, I'm not convinced is one of them. Look, it does have a few menus and options available to you. You've got CarPlay if that's what you want, and there's also some easy to learn buttons and stuff like that, but sometimes it can be a bit slow to respond to touch. Other times it's really quick, so it's a bit confusing. Below there you'll find your climate control panel. Now you've got your fan control down here, so it's a little bit annoying to have to use a little touch panel thing all the time to adjust temperature and fan and stuff like that, but at least it's there and not through the screen, which is a plus. Below there, you've got a little storage tray, a couple of USB ports. You've also got your drive selector, so you can choose in auto, four-wheel drive mode, or two high, four low, whatever you need to do, it's there. You've got a few more buttons down here next to the shifter to allow you to put it in power or eco mode, and also turn off the lane departure or warning system if you want to. A couple of cup holders behind that, a little storage tray in here as well, and bottle holders in the doors. So it is pretty good, and one other thing that tradies in particular might really appreciate, it does have little pop-out cup holders in the edges of the dashboard. Some other Utes don't have that at almost twice the price of this Ute. And also, I don't find this gear selector to be overly user-friendly. It does have one of those E-shifters, so you might not necessarily feel like you're in gear when you are, but look, I don't think it's a deal breaker. You've also got a digital instrument display here, so it'll show you your speed. There's also analog dials too, so it does have some conventional elements and some really, well, decent things as well. Now, material-wise, yes, lots of hard plastic. It doesn't feel special, apart from the fact that you do get this fake leather trim with the red stitching, which does look okay, just maybe not sort of luxury. But then again, you're not paying luxury Ute prices, are you? All right, let's check out the second row. More space in here than a Ford Ranger or Volkswagen Amarok. So if you are going to be hauling people with you all the time, then this could be a really good team Ute or family Ute, because look, this seat is set for my driving position. I'm 182 centimeters or 6 foot. I've got heaps and heaps of knee room, decent amount of foot room as well, and good headroom too. I like the fact that it's got a light headliner, which just makes it feel a little bit more, well, open and airy in the back. And when it comes to amenities, you do have some pretty good options back here. You've got mat pockets on the seat backs, you've got a fold down armrest with cup holders, and bottle holders in the doors too. You can fold up the seat base if you need extra storage and you're not having someone in the back with you. And if you are using this back seat for children, take note that there are ISOFIX points in the window seats and 2 top tethers. So unlike some of the other Utes out there where you have to top tether to the middle seat and you never feel like you're getting enough strength or tension on that tether, well, this one you can top tether behind the ISOFIX points, and it does reassure you that you will be able to get it a lot tighter. There's also directional air vents in here, a little power outlet down there, 12 volt. So it does have pretty much the amenities all sorted. And in fact, this is a far more accommodating space, apart from the fact that the seat's a little bit hard and a bit flat. But yeah, it feels like a better backseat experience than some of the much more expensive and more desirable Utes out there. Under the bonnet of the LDV T60 range, you'll find only one engine option. It's a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel, and it might seem like a pretty small engine for this type of application, but it has huge power and torque outputs, 160 kilowatts and 500 Newton meters. So yeah, it does have enough grunt, and it's available with a 6-speed manual in the entry-level versions or an 8-speed automatic transmission. The auto is probably the pick. Now, it does also have 4-wheel drive as standard, including low range, so that's nice to know. And it's also got decent towing, not class leading, 750 kilos for an unbraked trailer and 3 tons for a brake trailer. So it is falling a little bit behind the pack in that regard, but otherwise it's got a fair bit of punch. I'm not doing my usual testing in this car because I've come out to the Central West in New South Wales to the Orange area where my mates at LDV in Orange have loaned me this car for a little drive. Look, I've driven an LDV T60 Max before, so I know what I'm talking about. And it is, well, not the greatest drive experience, but you're also not paying the most amount of money for this Ute. So just keep that in mind. You're still getting a bunch of features. You might not be getting quite as polished a drive as some of the other Utes that cost $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 more. Now that we've got that out of the way, what's it really like to drive? Well, it could be better, obviously, but it's pretty good in most situations for the sort of buyer that this is going to be appealing to. Someone who is more focused on the usability of the vehicle and also that turbo diesel engine. It's going to be pretty good. And let me tell you that the turbo diesel does feel better when you're asking more of it. So if you're just driving around town with just yourself and you're sort of not really asking too much of the engine, it can feel a little bit confused at times, like it's not really sure whether it should be changing up a gear or whether it should just labor the engine a little bit, and it can vibe a little bit as a result of that. So you can just feel this sort of feeling. That's not great, but when you do put a weight in the back or you put a trailer on the back, you can feel that this engine does sort of come into its own. It really does do better when you're asking more of it. I remember a kid at school who was just like that. He was really lazy. Oh, that was me. All right, so let's talk about other elements of the drive experience. I think the steering is a bit weird feeling. It's got a bit of a lightness on center, but it does turn pretty well when you ask it to. It just has a bit more feedback and sort of rack rattle and stuff through the steering wheel if you go over mid-corner bumps or something like that. But thankfully, it does have really good tires, Continental tires on this spec, which does make for a more reassuring drive than some of the other cheap Utes I've driven with rubbish tires on them, to be honest. It's not too bad in terms of noise. Yeah, you can hear the diesel engine rattling away at times, but at higher speeds it seems to be okay. I wouldn't say that it's the quietest Ute, but again, it's not aiming to be. The ride isn't too bad either. Look, I think for a vehicle like this that has a pretty decent payload, the ride is actually pretty good. It doesn't feel too much of the bumps below. In fact, it's coasting along pretty nicely at 50 k's an hour or so. If you do go at higher speeds on rougher roads, you will notice that it can get a little bit more shimmy and shake at the back axle, but hey, that's the point of a Ute. They do settle down when you put weight in the back. So that might be something you want to consider if you are buying this Ute. For me, I'd probably be looking at the GWM Ute because I think it just has the extra safety features that I would appreciate as a dad with a youngster. I just think that those little extras like blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert do make for a nicer experience. But like I said, this car still has a surround view camera in this spec, so it does come up with a little view around the car when you are at lower speeds, which is nice to see. But this ute, I reckon, is for the sort of person who just wants a ute that does the job. They're not necessarily interested in all the bells and whistles. And you know what? I can totally see the appeal in it if that's you. Rightio, on your screen now, you'll see the official combined cycle fuel consumption figures for both the manual and the automatic versions of this ute. Yeah, there's not much in it, and that's the same whether you choose the entry level or if you choose the mega tub. So it does have a pretty decent fuel consumption figure. I reckon that's pretty honest. In my testing, not on this test because I didn't really have enough time to do the usual testing that I would do, but in the past, I've seen very, very close to that. In fact, about 10.5 litres per 100 Ks. And I reckon that's pretty good for a diesel ute like this. Tell me what you think. The LDV T60 did achieve the maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating back in 2017. But yeah, things have changed a lot since then. So it doesn't have a bunch of the technologies that you might expect, but then again, you might not want them. I know a lot of ute buyers really hate some of those active safety tech features. So this might be a pretty good option for you if you're one of those ute buyers. But I have to say, it doesn't have auto emergency braking. It doesn't have blind spot monitoring or rear cross traffic alert or active lane keeping assist. And those features might actually save your life. So keep that in mind. But then again, you might hate those features anyway. So let's also talk about airbag coverage. You've got dual front, side and full length curtain, so the back occupants will be covered too. And when it comes to the camera systems, if you buy one of the high grade versions, you get a surround view camera and front and rear parking sensors. If you buy the entry level version, you get rear sensors and a rear camera, so it's not too bad. This LDV still has a 5-year, 130,000 kilometre warranty and 5 years of roadside assistance for that same period. Some other LDVs that have come out since now have a 7-year warranty with 200,000 Ks of coverage. So hopefully the T60 sees that update at some point as well. Also, just keep in mind that LDV, unlike most other brands these days, doesn't have a cap price servicing plan, so it might be a bit of a game of guesswork when it comes to what it might cost to maintain this vehicle. But if you live in a regional, rural area, I'm sure you've got a good relationship with your dealership and you can, well, get an idea of what those costs might be over time. Make sure you ask though. I reckon the LDV T60 isn't going to be for everyone, but for the people that it does appeal to, it seems to stack up very, very well. Look, if you don't like the active safety nannies getting in the way of your drive experience, I know a lot of people in regional areas don't. I totally get that. And this vehicle still has a bunch of really good features that you will appreciate. It's also very practical and it does have a pretty big tub. So I reckon it does stack up pretty nicely, although maybe not the greatest ute that you can buy in 2023 and beyond. Tell me what you think in the comments section below. Would you choose this, one of the rivals, something completely different? I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. It helps a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.